Thank you so much. So, Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. And hello, my name is Patricia Elizabeth. I'm one of the e-guide here. Today, we're gathering for this special event, Bridging Cultures and Shaping Lives, the power of musical theater. Can we give a big round of applause for this amazing event? Thank you. In this event, we encourage you to build an inclusive and sustainable future for the performing arts in Indonesia. Also, very special, with today's discussion with our speakers, you can discover the power of musical theater education for youth and its role in promoting cultural diversity. And before we start our event, we have this trivia quiz for you who joined us via online platforms. And the question is, what was the first musical theater in the United States? Is it A, Showboat, B, Little Johnny Jones, C, The Black Crook, or D, Lady Be Good? If you already know, type your answer below. And if you can guess correctly, you will get a live shout out from us at the end of this event. And now I will introduce our lovely moderator. She is a co-founder of Aksara. Please welcome Adinda Nindyachandra.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ad America. Let's give a round of applause. I would love to welcome 80 students from Performing Arts Communication at London School of Public Relations. Hi, welcome, everyone. And also to our online audience at home or wherever you are, welcome. Today is such a special day where we are going to discuss bridging culture and shaping lives through the power of musical theater. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Adinda Nindyachandra. People call me by Adinda, and I will be your friendly moderator for today. I am the CEO and producer of a musical theater company called Aksara, and I graduated from the University of Melbourne with a Master of Arts and Cultural Management through LPDP scholarship. And to start some engaging conversation in musical theater, I would not be alone today as I have two amazing guest speakers, Kristine Bendul and Adit Marciano, to join me on this stage. Before that, I will read you a bit of their background. Kristine Bendul's artistic journey began as a classically trained ballerina and evolved into a distinguished career on Broadway and in professional dance sport ballroom. As the first professional Asian American female ballerina with the New Jersey Ballet Company, she laid a solid foundation enriched by global tours with the New York City Ballet Company under Leonid Kozlov, and Kristine's transition to musical theater includes 13 Broadway production credits, notably 5 with the City Center Encores. Pioneering gender equality in dance, Kristine and her partner made history as the first professional ballroom couple in the US to compete gender neutral in the American Rhythm Division. Kristine's influence extends through numerous educational initiatives, including the Broadway Education Alliance Camp Broadway and Manhattan Dance Project. She continues to inspire and innovate in the arts through her diverse talent. Our next guest speaker is Adit Marciano. Adit earned his Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in acting at the Chicago College of Performing Arts at the Roosevelt University with a summa cum laude and Franklin honors. Adit has actively been working in the Chicago theater with industry professionals. His recent Chicago credits include Call Me Madam at the Porchlight Theater, the all-Asian cast of Bake the Musical, which was featured at the Chicago Musical Theater Festival 2020, and Hit the Wall at the CCPA. During his training and career in Chicago, he co-founded Asa Pentas Mahakarya Academy with Triwati Marciano to entertain, educate, and train young Indonesian theater enthusiasts in musical theater. Apart from his role of being an artistic director of his company, Adit is also a high fashion model, actor, and professional equestrian rider. And let's welcome on stage Kristine Bendul and Adit Marciano to the stage. Round of applause, please. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. Hi, Kristin and Adit. How are you in this sunny Saturday?
We are fantastic.
Fantastic. Nice. Okay, so thank you so much for being here with us. And before we delve into our conversation, let's watch some videos first on the screen. Okay, let's give a round of applause. And can we have the next video on screen right now? All right, let's give one more round of applause. Okay, so today our topic will revolve around the power of musical theater. However, before we start, how about we start with something different, like a breathing exercise? As we know, breathing exercise is one of the most important components for actors to ground themselves before going on stage. So before we start, let's just unify our energy together. And probably Kristine can lead this breathing exercise for all of us here. Thank you.
Hello, salam budaya. I'm so thrilled to be here. I just want to start this unifying experience to connect us all because in theater, even on the first day of rehearsal, we love to connect because we think of the space, the room that we're in as our sacred temple where we create magic and it's a safe space. So I'd love to invite you into that space together. So if you're willing to join me, I would love for everyone just to sit comfortably and take a moment and close your eyes and just feel yourself in your body. Doesn't matter what you're thinking, just check in and be present in the moment. And just allow your breath to be at the pace that you need it to be and find yourself relaxing and feel your energy spreading out and melting. And we just want to find a safe space for all of us to connect. So what we're going to do together in unison, we're all going to take a nice inhale through the nose, into your belly, and hold it for a second, and then exhale nice and easy. And at your own pace, continue your nice deep breath into your belly, expanding into your lungs. Hold it for a second, and when you feel right, you can exhale. Feel the room around you. Feel the people around you. And this is also for our out of viewers that are out in the land of screen, also joining us. We want to connect everyone in the room, everyone outside the room. Feel your energy expanding beyond the space that you're in, beyond the building that you're in, beyond the city, and lift yourself as almost like you're flying in the sky and your view gets more and more expansive and you realize we're all connected. And enjoy that feeling of connection. Life is so fast and we can get so disconnected from each other. And just know you're safe in the present moment. Enjoy your next couple of breaths. Feel energy coming in, feel the air on your skin. And everyone together, we're going to take one nice final last big breath in. Hold it for a second. And exhale all your stress out. One more time. Nice big inhale. Hold it for a second. And exhale. Last one. Big inhale. And exhale. And thank you for joining me in this connection exercise.
Thank you so much, Kristine. Give her a round of applause, everyone. All right, so how does everyone feel after the breathing exercise? Do you feel refreshed? More calm? Yes? Composed?
I feel more calm.
Exactly, that's the purpose of it. So let's dive into our conversations. I think, as we know, that musical theater is a form of theatrical performance that combines songs, spoken dialogue, acting, and dance. This is to Kristin and Adit. I would want to know your personal journey and what drew you to musical theater in the first place. Maybe we can start with Kristin first.
So it's important for me to share that with my dance career started because of medical reasons. And my story actually begins as an infant. I was abandoned in the streets of South Korea, and I was found by police. And I was put in an orphanage, and I was adopted when I was a little over a year old. And so the orphanage took good care of me as an infant, but they don't mother you, so you are not taught how to stand or walk. And so when I came to the United States, I remember excruciating pain in my legs because they were underdeveloped. And my parents had figured out it was my legs, and I remember just crying and them rubbing, and I wasn't getting the circulation and the development necessary. So I was taken to medical treatment and seen by a specialist. When the doctor realized that I was not developing in my legs and lower extremities, the doctor said, listen, she's 2 going on 3. You could put her in physical therapy, but she's a toddler, or you put her in an activity that encourages movement and blood flow and circulation. So my parents, in the little small town that I grew up in New Jersey, found the local dance studio, which was more like a daycare with music where the kids run around and play games to records. And so it definitely got me up on my legs, running around and getting through that pain buffer. And then through just the events that unfolded, when I was 12, my best friend that grew up in the dance school with me wanted to become a professional dancer, and I was devastated that she left. And I ended up seeing her about a year later, and she was in pointe shoes and her hair was in a bun. And I thought, what is she doing? I can't believe I don't know how to do that. And right around the same time, I was doing other activities, racing dirt bikes and playing piano and doing gymnastics. My parents said, you have to pick one. And so I said dancing, because I thought I have to do what Mary does. So I said dancing, and that just kind of was the first domino. And I ended up starting late for a female, but I had such great training at the first ballet school I went to. It was a Russian woman by the name of Irene Fokin. And she is from a royal lineage of Russian ballet, famous Russian ballet dancers. And I got such incredible training. I was able to catch up to my level within a year and a half and then get accepted to School of American Ballet in New York City. Sorry, I'm so fidgety. But it's a dancer, I can't sit still. So I ended up doing that training, and I thought I was gonna be a ballerina, but then my parents took me to see Cats when I was probably around 13, 14. And I just remember seeing, yes, I knew they were people dressed as cats, but they were crawling around, they were dancing, doing the most athletic movement. It was so exciting, and singing, and the transportation for me and my imagination. I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. But then I forgot that memory, and I pursued my ballet career, which I was very lucky to have this incredible ballet career. And then when I was 18, through life circumstance, I ended up getting a job at Walt Disney World in Orlando. And so that was another dream of mine, because the first time I went there when I was 5 on vacation with my family, I remember seeing the dancers in front of the castle, thinking as a child, going, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I want to do that too. And so it was really funny that when I got that job and I was so excited to be independent and live a dream, if you will, dancing at Disney World. That was my intro into musical theater, which was very different from very strict ballet. And I thought, this is more fun and more money. I like musical theater. This is great. And then I made a really good friend in Orlando who convinced me after a few years, come on, girl, it's time to go to New York. We have to do Broadway. And we both wanted to do Cats. And so that put a bee in my bonnet. And Carlos convinced me to move back up into New York City. I moved back up in the end of '94, and I got my first professional musical was actually West Side Story, but it was a tour in Europe. So I left and I lived in Germany for half a year, and then I came back to New York and I kind of putzed around, spent all my savings, which wasn't good. But then my friend who convinced me back to New York said, get your stuff together, come into the city, move in with me. So I officially moved into the city in January '96, and I was so lucky. I got my first show, Broadway show, in 6 months, and I've been there ever since.
Oh my God, look at that. Let's give a round of applause, everyone. What an incredible journey she had. What about you, Adit? Let's tell your personal journey and what drew you to musical theater in the first place.
Cool. Well, Kristine, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story. For me, it's also it's been an interesting journey as well. So I grew up listening to a lot of Lady Gaga and Katy Perry. Who here loves Gaga and Katy Perry? Yes.
Look at that.
So I would just back in the day I would just put up photo booth on my Mac and then dance and sing to Katy Perry and Gaga songs. And then in my elementary school, I was fortunate enough that I went to a school that produces musical theater shows every year. I remember my first ever musical theater show was Wizard of Oz. I was little munchkins in the Emerald City, and through that experience, I just found out that I loved being on stage and the idea of storytelling and becoming a different character. And so throughout the year, our school would produce musical theater shows. And then I remember my mother took my siblings and I to our first ever Broadway show in New York, and it was The Lion King at the Minskoff Theater. And I'm gonna cry talking about it, but I just remember walking in that space and I was just transported into this beautiful, beautiful and powerful energy. And as the show started, I looked into my mom and I was like, Mom, I wanna do that. I wanna be up on stage and be able to share different stories one day. And it's, again, the power of musical theater. And so, growing up, I've always, found musical theater education, and it's been a challenge because there's not a lot of musical theater institutions here in Indonesia, unfortunately. But then my school gave me that environment and platform for me to be able to, express myself safely and be in a safe creative environment. And as I grew older, I became more proactive. I went outside of my school and found about Camp Broadway, New York in 2014 when I was just 15 years old. And, that summer of 2014, I flew all the way to New York City and joined the week-long summer camp. And that experience basically made a big impact and changed my whole trajectory on musical theater. Because not only it honed my artistic skills, but it also taught me the importance of authenticity and honing my presentation skills and lifting my confidence level. And so within that 5 days, I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is where I want to be surrounded with a group of people that share the same passion and same energy. And I think that feeling is something that I want to carry with me throughout the rest of my entire life. And so fast forward, I went to college, got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting, graduated in 2021, and then I was able to work for about a year and a half, where I was able to get my Chicago credits, which was really, really amazing and really, really fun. And before I moved back to Indonesia at the end of 2022, I reconnected with Susan Lee. Hi, Susan, if you're watching this. We were connected, and then that same year, so we were connected at the summer of 2022, 2. And then that same year, at the end of 2022, in December, we signed a partnership between Asa Pentas Mahakarya and the Broadway Education Alliance to bring Camp Broadway to Indonesia, because my mother and I have always had the vision of bringing the amazing program all the way here to Indonesia, so that the many talented young Indonesian kids could get to experience what I experienced in 2014.
That's definitely leave me in goosebumps. Let's give a round of applause, everyone. Okay, because we're talking about musical theater and shows just now, I'm actually wondering what was the first musical that made a significant impact on you? If I may start, mine is actually Hadestown, because I feel like it conveys such important message on humanity, love, and optimism. It shows us how the world can be instead of how the world truly is. And so probably I want to know about you too. Maybe we can start with Adit first and then Kristine.
I kind of gave it away earlier. For me, it would be Lion King. I mean, as simple as the story goes, it's about familyhood and a sense of belonging, and just seeing how the story develops, and really just reminding yourself to go back to your roots and to your ground is such an important story to tell. And so for me and for the audience to be able to experience that every single night on Broadway is, it made a big impact on myself, and I'm sure it made a big impact on a whole lot of people. So I would say Lion King.
Okay, Lion King. What about you, Kristine?
I also kind of gave mine away. My impact was Cats, obviously. But what I realized is something I can relate to was the difference and the uniqueness of every character, which at a young age I realized I was different because of my story, but being different wasn't a bad thing. So when I saw all these crazy cat characters being different and still celebrating in the Jellicle Ball, that was something that when I was younger I didn't know how to put into words. But then being older, understanding that you can come from all different backgrounds and you can still be important and still have your own story, which matters.
All right. So thank you for sharing it, Adit and Kristine. And maybe we can all add that to our theater watch list one day, hopefully, crossing your fingers. And right now, moving on to musical theater landscape aspects. I think we can see like musical theater in New York City is perceived as such beneficial aspect to the city, as it generates profits from the tickets, people coming from all over around the world to see these shows. And as comparison, we can see that the musical theater industry in Indonesia is actually currently showing signs of growth. As an evidence, we can see a good numbers of various shows opening in Jakarta now. It is good that right now musical theater in Indonesia is opening up access to actors to perform and utilize their talent. Therefore, I'd like to touch on the topic of musical theater opportunity. To Kristine, I would like to ask, how's the musical theater opportunity for Asians, especially in New York City?
It's definitely been a long road. In the 20th century, the Asian shows or shows that were able to cast Asians were written by white writers, and so there was this white lens. And even so, my first show was The King and I on Broadway, which I was very grateful that there was an opportunity, that there was enough roles that I could get in. But the very first production of King and I on Broadway, there was not an Asian person in the cast. So, the availability of work for Asian has come a long way. It's still not completely equitable. There are newer productions now, which is wonderful. Casting has changed. There has definitely been a sense of tokenism where I've been on both sides, where I've been able to be cast because I was Asian in an Asian production. But there was also a quota needed to be met in other shows where it was all white cast and they wanted to have one role for someone who was ethnic. That meant anybody who was Black, anyone who was Latin, anyone who was Asian, you're vying for one slot. So, I was fortunate with my ability and skill set that I was able to get that symbol token role. But it also made me aware that there's not going to be a plethora of work for myself and also my friends and colleagues I made. Now, because the conversation has been started, producers, casting, writing teams are trying to be more inclusive. I give them great credit. But there was a study done that I was a part of by Sophia Wu, and in 2018, 2019, all the roles played by Asian Americans, it was only 4.3% of every single role in all shows. That is not a lot at all. And so the work is still being done in the United States as far as the landscape for work opportunities. And I think we might be discussing more about that later. But I am seeing a shift where there is more colorblind casting. So for example, Cinderella and Harada, who played one of the stepsisters, her story is incredible because the writer knew he wanted her specifically to play that stepsister. It wasn't a let's try to be colorblind. He loved her skill set so much that he had her in mind for that role. That's enormous. So hopefully the world of musical theater continues to lean in that direction. So hopefully I'll be around for when it's completely colorblind and inclusive.
Nice. So you're saying that it is possible for Asians to make a career in Broadway, especially in New York City. Is that possible?
Definitely now, yes.
Okay. And for Adit, in comparison to New York City, how's the musical theater opportunity here in Jakarta? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I still consider myself relatively new in the musical theater scene here in Indonesia. As I mentioned earlier, I moved back here at the end of 2022, so it's only been a year and a half of me being back here in Jakarta. But I must say, seeing, especially over the last 5-7 years, I remember before I flew to Chicago for college, I was able to see Gemuruh by Jakarta Movin'. And from seeing that production, it was a testament that that we do have a shot for a sustainable performing arts ecosystem here in Indonesia. And then fast forward to when I moved back here, there's more and more theater communities, community-based, not just for-profit theater organizations that have already been established, which makes my heart really, really happy. And I knew this from also doing my own research before bringing Camp Broadway to Indonesia. And so, obviously over the last 5-7 years, our musical theater ecosystem is, developing rapidly, which makes me hopeful. And like you mentioned, right now there's more and more shows happening. Like Kristin and I, we just saw the gala night of Musikal Keluarga Cemara at Ciputra Artpreneur, and it was amazing. And then Joshua is coming up next, and then Jakarta Art House is putting up Catch Me If You Can, and then not long I just witnessed a really, really funny show called Therapy by Sense.com. And, and seeing all these different shows just is a huge testament that there is a great opportunity and chance for us to develop our own theater ecosystem. And it's such a pleasure to see the different shows being produced and the different organizations being represented in the industry, because I do believe in the array of inclusivity and diversity, because not all people want to see musicals. Some people might want to see straight plays. Some people might want to see, if we're talking about performing arts like opera or seeing a ballet show, So I think coming back to Indonesia and seeing the work that our peers have done makes me hopeful and excited for the future of our musical theater industry. But Dinda, you please feel free to chime in. You've been in the industry way longer than I do, so.
Yeah, so thank you, Adit. I think with Kristine's comments and your comments, definitely I can see that there is hope in Indonesia for our performing arts ecosystem. I mean, looking at you guys in the performing arts communication major, you guys are going to be our next generation who are going to do this. So please do not lose hope. I think that's the thing. And if you have struggle in it, it is meant to be hard on purpose because there's blood, sweat, tears, a lot of skill sets that you need to be able to have before you get to the industry. But it is really, really such an honorable job to do, to be in the performing arts. I mean, not a lot of people can do that. That's why we need you guys to stay on the lane and then be our next generation of creators. So thank you, Kristin and Adit. Okay, thank you, everyone. And moving on, in any kind of field, I think we can see that planning is key. And probably for some of you who know Taylor Swift, she said that if we fail to plan, then we plan to fail. And in musical theater, the planning stage falls under the creative process. This is a question to Kristine. Can you please describe how is the creative process behind developing a musical, like from concept, the ideation to the execution on stage?
It takes a lot longer in New York for a show to make it on a Broadway stage than one would imagine. I was involved with a new Asian musical last summer. It was called Tiananmen, based on the unfortunate events that happened on June 4th, 1989 in Tiananmen Square. And the writers started writing this, I believe they said 2013. And they started with the idea, the research, the writing, the rewrites. Once you have the songs, they would get together and do staged readings and concerts to make sure everything was in play. The full production wasn't realized until October of last year, produced by Phoenix Theater Company. And there's so much patience that needs to happen. It is possible for a show to get up in less years, but on average, what I've found for new works that are deeply complex, it's about 10 years, give or take. There's another show that I am potentially going to be involved with, and I know that writing had started 10 years ago. And it's not even in workshop phase yet. They've only done a reading and a concert of the music. So it takes a long time, but that also gives the time to work out the kinks, to make it, to continually shine that perfect gemstone and put it out there for the audience.
Okay, so what you were saying is actually it takes patience to create something really good. Like, it doesn't just happen over one night, right? To create something like a masterpiece like Lion King or Wicked, like as one of the longest running Broadway musical theater.
Correct. I mean, there might be that rare project that is the lightning in the bottle, but that's not the norm. So one thing we learn is perseverance and patience and grit and determination and hard work and follow through.
And please take note, everyone, that's the material that you need to have: perseverance, hard work, and grit to be able to make it in the performing arts industry. And for Adit, I would like to ask, based on your experience, do you believe in the sentence theater is the collaborative platform?
Absolutely. You know, I think it takes a whole lot of collaboration and, as Kristine said, perseverance to put up one successful show. You know, my experience of being a producer is still very, very new, and I'm still learning a lot. And through my personal experience, it takes a whole lot of pre-production and planning up until the production and post-production. You know, I think creating a strong foundation and team is crucial. Having, transparent and open communication with your team is also important. But I think the most important qualities to become a producer or to put up a production is to believe in yourself. You know, it's quite challenging to be in a position where you make a lot of executive decisions. I'm still learning. Hey, at the end of the day, we're all humans. We make mistakes, and we learn and we grow from that. But again, as long as you always remind yourself to why you're doing this in the first place and what drives you into doing what you are doing today, will make you go a long way and will produce a whole successful show. Oh, also, what I like to tell my kids at Camp Broadway Indonesia and at Asa Pentas Mahakarya is that there are no such thing as big or little roles. There are only big and little actors. So, I always tell them it takes a whole village to put up one show, no matter the actor, the costume, makeup designer, prop designer, stage managers, directors, producers. Every role and title is equally as important to produce one successful show. And so, at Camp Broadway Indonesia, which I think later we'll touch base more on it, I would like to eliminate the term main cast, because I think everyone in the ensemble is important. So what I like to instill and start implementing now is try to avoid using main casts, and if they are the main cast, refer them as main principal roles. And then the ensemble as well, because then I think with the term main cast, that puts this whole stigma of, oh, the main cast are just these three actors and I'm just a background character. No, 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 no. Like I said earlier, everyone is equally as important, and everyone plays a pivotal role in every production.
Thank you so much, Adit. And to add to your answers and Kristine's answers, definitely theater is such platform that you cannot really do alone. You have to really collaborate with people, and that takes people management, everyone. And I know, like being friends with people, you might clash into like differences, but that's the key. If you can manage people, you can survive it in the musical theater industry. And most of the times, it takes a lot of rising above the challenges and just roll up the sleeves, even though probably you don't have the set of skills yet. But if you have the effort, if you have the willingness to learn, everything is still possible. So do not put yourself in boxes where I can only do this or I can only do that. Step out of that and rise up to the challenge. Okay.
I was just wanting to
Yeah,
piggyback because it's such a good conversation.
Yeah.
So theater being collaborative effort, right? Sometimes you're blessed with the most incredible team. Yeah, and everything, you just get along, you know how to communicate so well, from backstage production management to on stage, which is a blessing. And that's what I experience here in Indonesia and brings me back. Sometimes you will be with a team that maybe doesn't feel that way, but what is helpful in order for you to continue and to succeed is try not to take things personally if you don't feel that there's a collaborative effort, because your responsibility is just to bring your best self every day, and that is going to really uplift everyone around you. A friend of mine told me many, many years ago, be the message and not the messenger, right? So you might be in a room at some point and you might feel tension or you might see infighting, but as long as you stand strong in your ground and who you are and bring your best, you will come out having a great experience no matter what, dream team or not.
Yeah, I do agree. I do. Give her a round of applause, everyone. I do agree in that. And I think talking about knowing yourself and being able to work in a team in this industry, I think there is a quote from Lion King that says, "Remember who you are." I think it's really, really important for us to really stand our ground and know that every little thing you do can really make a difference in this industry. And I think we can all believe, I think everyone here probably have watched shows on Broadway or watched bootleg, sorry, on YouTube. And we can all believe that musical theater can truly transport us to another world that can really affect our emotions through stories that are being told on stage. And I would like to ask to Kristine, what is it about musical theater that evokes such strong emotional impact on people?
There's a couple different aspects. So one of them is this beautiful transportation, this journey. You can escape and go on this ride with all these characters. They're fictitious, and there's so much joy, and there's entertainment, and there's flashy costumes, and lights, and it just is, you're living the moment, you're getting the energy from the actors live. It transports you to this place. But the other connection is when you go see live theater and when it's done well, you can relate to what the characters are feeling. There's emotion, there's strife, there's struggle, and there's resolution. And so when you see that, you understand that, wow, maybe it was something that you don't talk about with your close circle of friends or your family, but you see a show and one of the characters is going through something that you can relate to, and you don't feel alone anymore. So I think that the emotion we feel by connecting to characters, by connecting to stories, that evokes such strong passion. And then the third aspect is, no matter what your age, when you see talent on stage mastering their craft, that inspiration is enough to drive you to be inspired in whatever it is you want to do, right? When you become inspired, it just uplifts you, and you feel that you can get that as well, that you can attain that and take that into your own life.
Okay, and I think with that, we agree that good theater, good musical theater that are being told on stage are the ones that can make you feel seen and heard as a person.
I mean, even shows that might not qualify personally as great theater, there's always some takeaway that I can find. There's something that I can learn from, and that's what's beautiful. You walk into this space, you as an audience member are a blank slate. When you walk out the theater, you have taken something with you, whether it was inspiration or whether you want to be a creator and you go, I know now what not to do when telling a story. That's a lesson learned, right?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kristine. And I think touching on that also, we can see a lot of musical theaters now are opening in Jakarta. But then, like Adit once said in the beginning, that education system. We don't really have much education system like, let's say, LSPR that has like performing arts communication, where it teaches you valuable lessons about being in the performing arts ecosystem. And it's something that is a concern for all of us, because we can see a lot of talent here, right, in Jakarta or in Indonesia itself. And I want to touch base on the educational value of musical theater. And I think, as we all know, education can create such profound impact, especially when we start instilling it at an early age. Maybe we can talk more about the educational value of musical theater. I would like to ask to Kristine. I mean, sometimes we see musical theater or like arts as something that you would just do for a hobby. So it's just a hobby but not a career, something like that. Is it true, though, that it is more than just a hobby?
Well, definitely, because when you immerse yourself in something where you are the facilitator, you are the instrument, that is only going to give you more life skills of it being comfortable in your body, learning how to express yourself. So whether or not you want to pursue a career in musical theater or in the performing arts, there's something about learning how to be comfortable in your own skin and expressing yourself in a way. So I would say definitely it can be fun, but it's also you have life learning experiences.
Okay. And do you think that when you see people here in Jakarta or Indonesia, where you watch shows in Jakarta, do you think that we would have like a bright future for our industry here? What is your take on that?
I absolutely am seeing that. So this is my second time in Indonesia. I was so grateful Adit has brought me back again. I came last year. And the infrastructure that you have, the resilience, the resources, it is beyond incredible. And even from last year to this year, learning about all the new productions, meeting the team, the amazing team that I'm working with here with Camp Broadway and Pentas and Aksara, it is so incredible to see this growth and all these productions happening, because you are on the uphill, on the up and up with this. So I'm absolutely seeing a growth in that. I hope did that answer?
Yes, that did answer the question. And I think I want to encourage all the people here to have more belief that the industry is growing. So there is like a lot of trials and errors. And we should be able to collaborate together collectively to make this ecosystem better and better instead of thinking and focusing only on the problem that is still growing. There will be challenges, but I think if we can all collaborate together, it will be a very strong performing arts ecosystem that could actually adds up to the value of our nation later on untuk Indonesia Emas 2045. All right. So probably you are hearing about Camp Broadway Indonesia in our conversation for the past 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I would like to ask Adit for this. So can you please explain a bit more about Camp Broadway Indonesia? And Kristine's second time in Indonesia here. And what are we doing in Camp Broadway Indonesia, your vision and your mission, and why do you think it's important to the performing arts industry?
Yeah, so I would like to go back a little bit to my very brief story on how founded Camp Broadway in New York back in 2014. You know, I was only 15 years old. I had very little theater experience, only in schools, you know, but then just from seeing from the website, and it immediately says, develop your character. You know, that itself has already drawn myself into the excitement of how this program represents itself. And through that, I was just like, okay, well, this is not intimidating. It's even though so I joined the Next Step program, which was for 14 to 17 years old. But you know, I was a little bit intimidated. But then through its tagline, develop your character, from there and from the description, I found out that this program is the perfect program for me because not only it shaped campers' hard skills, acting, singing, dancing, but it also immersed us into the world of professionalism, and I was able to, you know, meet with new people from around the world, you know, and especially at that age, you know, we're shy, but then we still have that high of curiosity. And so that 5 days basically changed my life. And so my mother and I, since then, we've always wanted to bring this amazing program over to Indonesia. And then I went and got my degree. And then before I moved back, I reconnected with Susan Lee. And then we spoke about our vision and mission, and it was very much aligned. And, you know, we signed our partnership at the end of 2022, and now it's been our only second year of operations here in Indonesia. And I'm very proud to say that we've done an enormous amount of work, you know, with the impact it has through the musical theater education system here in Indonesia. And I feel like we brought this amazing program at the right time, at the right place, because I was reading in an article where it says statistically here in Indonesia, 57% of the students are gearing towards more the creative industry. So, you know, as educators, that's a big clue for us to, oh, the numbers are there, and you know, it's more than 50%. So how can we go back to our board and sit down all together and be like, okay, this is happening, this is shifting from the past 10 years, how can we provide that to the students here in Indonesia? So, you know, I think for me, encouraging and implementing STEAM into our education system, which is science, technology, engineer, arts, and mathematics, is crucial because, you know, through arts education, not only we get to learn the academic side, but also the soft skills that we get to learn, like as Kristine said, perseverance, patience, hard work, determination. Those skills, to me, is equally as important as being a scholarly. And so with the program at Camp Broadway Indonesia, where we focus on youth enrichment program for kids ages 10 to 17 years old, you know, we give the opportunity for theater-loving kids of all background and all levels the chance to experience Broadway, you know, and through that, through that program, through the 6 days, the kids get to learn acting, singing, dancing, but on top of that, they also get to create their own costume, do their own makeup, have the chance to talk with industry professionals, local and international, you know, because we don't expect our kids finishing our program from Camp Broadway wanting to only become as actors. You know, we have kids finishing our program that wants to become costume designers or stage managers, you know, and I think that gives inspiration and the drive for these kids that, oh, there is a chance for me to pursue a career in the performing arts industry, whatever that be. It might not be the actor itself, but also the people working behind the scenes, which I mentioned earlier, is equally as important. So that's what we focus at Camp Broadway Indonesia, which is providing a youth theater enrichment program for kids ages 10 to 17 years old. And now Kristine here is back for the second time, acting as the choreographer and director for our summer camp, which we will start kicking off on Monday. Just 2 days from now, which is very, very exciting. Our second ever main stage summer camp. Kristine is back again, and we're honored to have you back again, and more in the upcoming years. And so within those 6 days, the kids, like I said, the kids get to learn musical theater, education, and then perform at the family finale showcase on the 6th day, which I think is such a heartwarming and heartfelt feeling, because then we get to see the progression of each of the campers and see how much they've grown and learn more about themselves, which I think is very, very important.
Thank you so much, Adit. I think that's very inspiring with what you do with bringing Camp Broadway here to Indonesia and giving an opportunity for kids in Indonesia to actually soar into their greatest potential through musical theater. Thank you so much, Adit. And speaking of breaking into the industry, of course, in every industry, we need like a special set of skills or something that are required for you to have. What about musical theater, Kristine? Let's say the soft skills and hard skills that are needed to be, let's say, actors or just to be the workers in the industry. What would you think people should be required to have?
Well, obviously, the hard skills in whatever craft you're doing, whether you're focusing just on acting or singing and or dancing, if you're a musician, that you've got to hone those skills, right? You have to hone those talents and be unafraid to learn more and expand that knowledge. But the soft skills are so important too. So as Adit was saying, there's just obviously your patience, your grit, your determination, your discipline, but there's also, you learn teamwork, you learn responsibility, you learn preparation, you learn punctuality, and these are, whether you pursue a profession in the performing arts or not, these are life skills that will serve you well no matter what you do. The more grounded you are in your soft skills, you will succeed in anything you choose to move forward on.
So be more grounded as a person is one of the soft skills that you really have in order to make it into the industry.
Yes, and lastly, as Adit was mentioning, when you find your confidence in who you are, that is also going to help you in your life. So being unafraid to go try a new song or take a new dance class or be part of a new production, you step into yourself and you gain confidence, because life is hard enough no matter what you do, right? We all have insecurities, we all get nervous, and what theater arts does, it just enables you to dig in deep and to find a resource of courage and to be unafraid and be brave. And that is something that is invaluable.
Thank you so much, Kristine. And I think I want to add more to that answer is actually in musical theater, we don't chase perfection. There's always a chance for you to redefine yourself every day. And all we need in life to survive is actually progression. So 1% effort every day is still progress. So if you are thinking of, oh, whether I want to stay in this industry, trust us that it matters for you to think that way, because it's going to be very valuable. You don't have to be a successful actor or per se. You can be in the industry like Adit mentioned. It could be a lot of things. You can be the costume designer. You can be the stage managers. All of your knowledge can be valuable in building our performing arts ecosystem as a whole. So please do not belittle yourself thinking that you're not up there yet. We're all here are trying, and it's okay to be seen trying. It's fine, and we're all gonna do this for our industry. So let's be more confident that we're gonna make it someday, one day at a time. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, musical theater in the future. So we're looking from now. We see that there's definitely potential in Indonesia for us to actually expand our industry. How do you envision the role of musical theater evolving in the next decade? For Adit first and then Kristine.
In Indonesia? Yes. Well, I mean, Christine mentioned this earlier. Seeing the different shows and the infrastructure of how the musical theater industry has developed over the past 5, 10 years here in Indonesia, makes creatives like us very hopeful and want to invest more on theater organizations. But also, I think it's important to note that with having support from government officials and private institutions is equally as important, because why can Broadway and West End be a very well developed performing arts ecosystem? Because the government, gives incentives and subsidize for the performing arts organization. And I think, if we are able to reach that, we can have a very, very sustainable ecosystem.
What about you, Kristine?
As I talked about in the beginning of the program, there's great evolution happening and there's great opportunity. But the newer opportunities that are going to happen is from the youth, no matter whether you're in Indonesia or America or wherever you are. So I think it's important to stay open-minded and know that you're the trailblazers to end up shape-shifting the industry into a more beautiful, inclusive place. But I know that we're tight on time.
Yes.
So I do want to add one thing as far as soft skill.
Yes.
Do not let rejection scare you or deter you. There will be many more no's than yeses.
Oh, so true.
And
Too many
so
no's.
just know that that is resilience. It's going to build resilience and fortitude. I have a friend in Broadway. He was so determined to get a show, he stayed. It took him 20 years, and he got his Broadway show. Now, that's not the norm, but all I'm saying is it is not easy, right? The opportunities are still happening, but go for it and just be brave and don't take no for an answer.
Thank you so much, Kristine. And I think that wraps up the question for today. Let's give a round of applause for Adit and Kristine. Thank you so much. And now I want to open the opportunity for questions from our online audience and also our offline audience here. Questions, you can raise your hand so our staff can hand you the mic. Questions? Maybe from over there at the back. We see you. Is there any question? It's fine. It's okay to make mistakes. We don't laugh at people who ask questions. So please ask away.
We love questions.
Yes, please. Yes. Terima kasih, Pak. Can you please introduce your name, your major, and then the question?
Hello, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Justin Leonardo. I'm from Performing Arts Communication. I would like to ask, what's your biggest inspiration in doing what you guys like to do?
Biggest inspiration
Yeah.
in doing what we do?
Yeah.
Correct.
Just
Okay.
wanted to know because I feel like as a performing arts communication, we feel like it could be related to us. And how do we see ourselves in common as a performer in the future? That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you. All right. Want to start, Adit?
Yeah, thank you for the question. To answer that, I think us as human beings, it's inevitable for us to want to have a sense of belonging in this cruel, cruel world.
You don't say.
And so, my biggest drive and motivation in doing what I do is mostly just having that safe space and safe environment for like-minded people. Oh my God, like-minded people like us here today. Where we share the same passions and the same goals to just, be ourselves, And with what I do at Camp Broadway Indonesia, I want to give that space and opportunity for young Indonesian artists to just learn more about themselves and most importantly, just be themselves. Yeah.
Okay. So what about you, Kristine? Thank you, Adit.
So I want to share two stories. One, there's a famous American modern dancer. Her name was Martha Graham, and changed the face of dance. She danced until she was 86, and the modern movement was so new and ahead of her time. She knew she was ahead of her time with the movement and everything she was doing. She toured the world, and a lot of people didn't understand what she was doing, but she knew who she was. She knew the messages that she wanted to give across to the audience. And she was on tour, her company was on tour over in Europe. And after the performance, one person reached out to her and found her and said, with tears in their eyes, "You changed my life. I lost my child 20 years ago." I believe it was a child, someone very close to them, and they were unable to grieve. They were unable to access that part and tap in and release it, and they were holding it. And that one dance piece that they saw hit this root, this knot in them, that they were able to just, this well of emotion finally came out, and they were able to connect with themselves again, and that they hadn't felt in so many years. So it's the knowing that there's one person that you can affect, that you can inspire, that you can touch. That's my inspiration. So for example, last year, our first year here at Camp Broadway, Indonesia, there was a camper who struggled in her life, who she was, and to see her growth and what she was able to accomplish in one week, 5 days. The camp was only 5 days last week. And her mother and her aunt came to us and said, "Oh my goodness, my daughter barely spoke. We didn't know how to help her. And she's on the spectrum, but she's still 16 years old at the time, and she found herself." And to see this impact that musical theater had on this beautiful young woman, Moranthi, it was incredible to know that she didn't know how to function in life. She didn't know where her place was in society, nor did her family. And she found herself through musical theater. And now she is just blossoming and thriving. So for me, the inspiration is there one person that I can touch? It doesn't have to be work from a Broadway stage. It is my life skills, my craft that I share, the magic that brings to impact and inspire people. So that is truly, truly what I seek, to work with incredible people, an incredible team, and to uplift everyone else out there.
Thank you so much, Kristin and Adit. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you. And I think to add on that, being in the musical theater industry really adds meaning not to only our own life, but to other people's lives as well. Imagine doing something as your career. Imagine doing something for the rest of your life and be able to give not only meanings for yourself, but also for other people. So it's such an honorable work to do. And I think if you're considering whether or not you should do this as something that you want to do for the rest of your life, I think it's the time to rethink about it and trust us. Again, we want to really encourage you that it is such industry that is very worth it and something that you could use for your growth along the way for the rest of your life. All right, so next question. We're opening questions. Yes, please. Terima kasih, Pak.
Hello, Kristin. Hello, Kak Adit. How are you? Hope you guys are doing great. So my name is Aka. I'm one of the lecturers for the introduction to performing arts communication here in LSPR Jakarta. So my question is because we as educators, in this dynamic world of performing arts, we, not only the students, but also the lecturers have to improve. That's what I'm thinking about. And it's been a long time for me to go up on stage, and then I have to meet the Gen Z here, right? And a different generation with me. But then I have to update every day about what's going on in performing arts world here now. But then here the thing is, because I've mentioned that it's been a long time for me to go up on stage, and then I cannot give them like any new things like to teach them yet. But for Kadit and also Kristine, like what do you think of us educators? Like what kind of things that we really have to update to keep the students update as well about the performing arts world, and then like what kind of skills that also the educators must have like now to give like inspiration for the students to have a better insights about performing arts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So ways to innovate through ways of teaching or skills. How to keep on re-innovating to keep everyone updated with the trends right now happening in the musical theater industry.
If I may start.
Yes.
I would like you to appreciate your history and who you are and dig into that, because there is value in what you learned then that is not being taught now, right? So I mean, for me, growing up in the 80s, 90s and 2000s and 2010s, that there is something that I learned then that is invaluable, and I don't feel the need to erase that. If anything, I've learned what not to do. I was having an amazing conversation earlier today about just, I knew to lead with love because I wasn't taught that way. So that is a great skill. Now, of course, yes, there's new ways of learning how to communicate, and there's the diversity, equity, and inclusivity that we want to continually to be aware of. I think what would be important, what I've noticed in the US with the new generation, is that there is a lack of awareness of who comes before them. And it is important to know the history of the people that came before you, right? So I was teaching at a college in New York City a few years ago, and my star dancer, the only one who actually left school and will have a professional career because they were that good. We were talking one day, and they were asking me questions, and I was talking about the current shows on Broadway, and I mentioned a famous Tony Award-winning director and choreographer. He had no idea who this was. And I thought, how crazy is that this is a person who wants to get on Broadway, has no idea who is any of the directors or choreographers are. So that is something that you could teach, the importance of the trailblazers who led the way to today. Whether it's Indonesia or an American musical, history is so important. We learn from history, we learn from the people who came before. So I would dig in there and also just stay true to yourself and your history. And trust that what you've learned that led you to where you're sitting today is for a reason, that was valuable. So history, dig into that.
Good job. Let's go. All right.
And for myself, I think, thank you, Kristine, for that. I'm also still very new in becoming an art educator. I'm still very young. I'm only 24 years old. But I understand what you're going through right now. It's this thing called an artist block. And I think it's important for us to also remind ourselves that we are normal human beings at the end of the day. It's important for us, in whatever we do in our aspects of our lives, it's important for us to just pause and disconnect to connect. I mean, every day we see around ourselves, we always see inspirations, right? Like even today, I'm inspired already by just seeing the many different beautiful faces in the studio and just hearing Kristine's and Adinda's story. And so, I think it's a part of it's also our job to take care of ourselves emotionally, spiritually, and physically, because we transfer our energy every day and meet our students every day, and it's exhausting as much as it is rewarding, right? But then again, we can only take care of ourselves every single day. And to that, I would say, disconnect to connect and find the right balance of when to really say, like, this is too much for me. I'm going to tap out for just a couple of moments and tap back in and then find new inspirations.
Thank you so much, Adit. And I think I want to add more on that because I think you said that you were an arts educator. Coming from a lecturer background, also, I'm not teaching arts, but I'm teaching marketing. But in saying that we have to re-innovate our ways in teaching is definitely think if like your ways is like, okay, I've been doing this a lot of times, to keep on thinking, how would I deliver the message differently? So try every day to put different stuff. And that way you can definitely pick and choose which ways that actually can be comfortable for you and useful. It's a lot of trials and errors, and it's okay to, try a lot of things. You're a teacher, but you're also, like Adit said, a human too. And being a teacher is very valuable. We need a lot of people like you, arts educator in the world. So thank you very much.
Can I also add just
course.
one thing? To piggyback off of what the three of us are saying, I made a promise to myself this year to tap back into my acting skills, whatever that means, whether it be taking an acting class or just do a monologue in my room, and then just, for my own, so just to get my creative juices going, because over the last year and a half to 2 years, I've been on the other side of the table, which has been very, very rewarding as well. And I've learned a lot, but at the same time, I do miss acting, like you said. Us as artists, we fuel ourselves from receiving and giving energies from different people on a live audience. And so, this year, as you see on the video earlier, I tapped back into my acting skills this year. I luckily landed and signed into a talent agency where they foster me, they listen to what I want to pursue in my acting career. And within only signing 2 months, I landed my first acting gig here in Indonesia, and it was for an acting web series, and I've learned a lot from that. And my goal to be able to do that is to show my students at Camp Broadway Indonesia that yes, I'm an educator, and yes, I'm also still actively acting and pursuing my dreams, because as the students, it gives them inspiration seeing their educators still actively performing. Like for me, when I was in college, seeing my professors directing in Chicago and in the real world inspires me to oh, you can do both. You can't just do one, And so I think it's important for us, like Dinda said, to not put ourselves in a box, but also continue challenging ourselves and just stepping outside of our comfort zone.
Yes.
So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Adit. Thank you so much. Apparently we have online questions. Okay, so this one is for Kristine. How do you prepare for roles that require you to embody a culture different from your own? This one is from Yoga.
This is an interesting question because culturally, I might look on the outside like I have an affinity with an Asian culture. I was adopted by an American family. And the roles that I've gone out for and the different productions I've done, let's just use King and I as an example, my first Broadway show. I'm not Thai, right? And the first production I did in 1996 was the third revival. It was done on Broadway. And all I knew was I just had to show up looking like this and do my craft. I've been fortunate that outside of the productions that I had done where I was the token, that how I would prepare myself was in my actual hard skills. Am I up on the dancing? Will I blow everyone out of the water and not even have to worry? Where am I at vocally? So right now, again, with the landscape of musical theater, and if we're talking about specifically roles for Asians, there's the ongoing conversation that in this study that I had referred to earlier, we, as Asians, are put under an umbrella, even if we're from many different backgrounds and countries and cultures. And so, unfortunately, most of the times in the US, casting is unaware of that, and they just care, do you look the part, and are you talented in your skill set? I would say, regardless of the role you're going for, obviously hone your skill set. Hone your skill set, but also don't be afraid to continue learning something new, right? If you're a ballet dancer, take jazz class. If you're a tap dancer, take ballet class. Like if you're a singer, get into dance class because everybody has to do everything in a musical. But hone your skill set, and so that hopefully the world comes to a place where it doesn't matter what you look like, and it's truly colorblind casting, and you are cast on your skill set. Do your research on the role if you can. If there's a story, if it's based on a story that has happened, do your research. I will say that about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was an audition for a movie, and I was called in last minute, and I thought, well, this is odd. I don't normally go for movies. Why is I'm being sent in for this? I researched who the choreographer was, and I watched what kind of movement she did, and it was so off the wall, not anything I had ever done. And I went into that room, and everyone was approaching it from a musical theater. I'm a pulled-up dancer, and she wanted quirky, otherworldly, character-driven. And because I did my research, I knew that, and I booked the role. So do your research also.
Yes, it's like coming to war. You have to come prepared. You cannot just audition for something and just hoping that you would get it. Definitely skill set and then research. Yes, thank you, Kristine. And next, this is for Adit. How has performing in culturally diverse musicals shaped your own understanding and appreciation of those cultures?
Great question. Yeah. So, similar with Kristine, I, as Indonesian, with our motto Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, right, unity and diversity, we're all in unity. And so when I first moved to Chicago, I was just culturally shocked with how the entertainment industry works over there. It took me some time to finally find my voice and how representation matters, because unfortunately, the industry is, for people like us as actors of color, we still have to run, for lack of better words. But I landed my first professional gig with Anything Goes, and like Kristine said, it felt very like I was tokenized just to add a pop of color, However, I was able to collaborate and work with the director in a way that I said, hey, I really appreciate you giving me this role, and thank you very, very much for trusting me. However, I am not Chinese. Yes, I'm Asian, but I am not Chinese. I'm Indonesian, and so it's it's not necessarily just my job, but also everyone in the production being involved to figure out ways of how they can revamp the character and the lines delivered. That's number one. Number two, I got the chance to play a Puerto Rican role on Hit the Wall. Yes, and it's tricky. It can be very sensitive, and it's a tricky gray line because, my institution, we didn't really have a lot of actors of color. However, again, I always see things on a different lens. I'm like, oh, this director landed me this role because he believes that I can portray this character on my own way. And then I came up to the director again. I was like, hey, thank you again for giving me this role, but I'm not Puerto Rican. I look Puerto Rican with my hair, but I am not Puerto Rican. Can we please, figure out ways of how I can view this character through my own lens as an Indonesian actor? And he respectfully said yes, and that meant a lot to me, because then, that shows that there are directors out there that are willing to break down the script and break out of the norm for people like us to be given a chance to shine and be seen. Am I answering the question?
Yes, you're answering the question. That is correct.
Yes, but I think racism and prejudice is always going to be out there, and us as the society, we have a whole lot of work that needs to be done. And I think for us to be working in the theater industry, with the power of storytelling and representation, that is the power that we have that not a lot of people get to experience.
That's true. Thank you so much, Adit. So opening up communication with also the team that you're working in really comes valuable for you. Thank you. And last but not least, the online question for Kristine from Brian would be, how has the musical theater changed or influenced your perception of different cultures?
I'm wondering if that's specifically where I've performed or what I've performed in.
Probably how you have performed in.
Okay, how's it influenced me regarding different cultures?
Yes.
Well, beyond performing, I've moved into the creative side of my career. I still perform, but I mostly direct and choreograph and write now. And so last year, I was the associate director, choreographer on a production of Miss Saigon. And my director, choreographer was also of Asian descent. It was the first time ever a production of Miss Saigon was done in the United States by an Asian creative team, director and choreographer, that is. Tiananmen we were all Asian, including the musical director. But just getting back to Miss Saigon, understanding the wrongs of how the culture was portrayed when it was done on Broadway, and the conversations I've had with peers and colleagues, I knew to try to correct those wrongs. So I reached out. Thank goodness I have a really good friend who's Vietnamese, and I had just had a conversation. What do you think is problematic that we can fix? Because, for example, in the Broadway production, Kim is in a dress that is culturally Chinese. It's not Vietnamese. Okay? And so also the pronunciation of words. I cared enough as a creative on that show to ask those questions, to honor the culture of the people's story that we're telling. So I did a production of King and I was in it a couple years ago, and our creative team was incredible, and they deferred to someone who was Thai to come in and speak with us on the impact of this true story that really happened with King Mangkut. King Phra Mangkut. And so we really tried, even the set designer, more authentic sets, authentic costumes, learning languages and giving those phrases to the actors. So it's easier to make an impact on the other side of the table in order to truly respect the cultural differences in different productions. So those are two examples I would give.
And definitely, as creators, you have to be aware of the things that you put into like artistic decisions, and we have to be aware of the issues that it might actually occur when we do this. So I think as creators, as actors, we need to be aware of what's going on around us to be able to pull off something that is meaningful and impactful.
Yeah, it's approaching what we do with the ultimate respect, right? Remember in the beginning of the program, I was saying that I consider this space sacred, like a temple. And we want to all offer each other that safe space to connect, but not only the production team, the onstage, the behind the scenes, but how are we honoring our audience? How are we respecting the material, right? The writers, every aspect. So it's how much respect you have and the thoughtfulness, and that's another soft skill, is really thoughtfulness and awareness and respect.
Thank you so much, Kristine. And that's all for the online and offline questions. Thank you very much for the audience here and at home. And for our closing, for Adit and Kristine, just to keep it short, what advice would you give to aspiring artists and creators in musical theater? Adit.
The golden nugget, I would say. Trust yourself and trust the process and enjoy every bit of it. It will be tiring, it will be exhausting. Like Kristine said, you will encounter so many no's, but again, believe in yourself and do what you love and love what you do. I'm gonna stop there before I go on a rant.
Thank you, Adit. Kristine.
I would say that the world is hard enough. We compare ourselves with each other on social media, and especially in the performing arts, it's so easy to go, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't do that. I want to do that. Find out, really sit with yourself and figure out what is your true passion. What do you love? If you love singing more than you love dancing, do more vocal lessons. Stop dancing, or vice versa. Or if you are on stage and you say, you know what, I actually like the creative process. I want to learn about writing. Find what your who you are. What do you love? What do you love to do? Because when you love the work you do, it ceases to become work, right? So that's number one. Number two is don't, back on the comparison thing, try your best. Let people inspire you to become better, but don't get in the mistake of comparing yourself and saying, I'm not as good as so-and-so. Allow them to inspire you in a way so you go, hey, oh my gosh, I love the tone in their voice. I don't have that tone. You may never have that tone, but what you could do if you're a singer, continue working your vocal skills so that you do find what is your true tone, right? So be unafraid to be yourself and know that your uniqueness is your gift.
Thank you so much. Preach, preach, preach. And I think at the end of the day, we're all different and we're all special in our own ways. And comparison is really a killer. So never compare yourself to others, and let what inspires you fuel you to the inside. Do not let it consume you. Okay, so thank you so much for Kristine Bendul from NYC and Adit Marciano for today. Thank you so much for your time here. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you.
And I will be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone, for having us today. And thank you, Patricia.
Okay, thank you so much, Adinda, for navigating this discussion. And thank you so much to our speakers, Kristine Bendul and Adit Marciano. Can we give a big round of applause once again to this insightful discussion? And also, thank you so much from LSPR. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And earlier at this event, we have trivia quiz for you who join us via online platforms. And the question was, what was the first musical theater in the United States? Is it A, Showboat, B, Little Johnny Jones, C, The Black Crook, or D, Lady Be Good? And the correct answer is C, The Black Crook. So congratulations to Pratama Yudara Harja from YouTube, who is the fastest one who can guess correctly. The last, to keep update for our next amazing events here in Ad America, you can follow our social media. We have on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, AT America. With that, my name is Patricia Elizabeth, and see you at the next Ad America events. Happy weekend, everyone!